I'm Jennifer Johnson and I raise sheep for their wool. Welcome to the channel. This video is one in a series of videos where I'm going to share with you what it takes to get prepared to be a vendor at the Rhinebeck Sheep and Wool Festival, which takes place the third weekend in October every year. So I've been vending there for about 4 years now, and there's some products that I offer in the booth, including wool from our sheep. And because I am a Magicraft dealer, I will come to the festival with Magicraft spinning wheels and all the prep tools and spares and accessories. So I'm pretty well set, but there's a few things I still need to do, and I just thought it'd be fun to share those with you as we build up and count down to the Rhinebeck Festival. Some of the projects I want to get done before the festival. Number one is I have the Pioneer wheel. This is the demo wheel that I was using in my booth. Magicraft discontinued this, and so I'm going to be offering this wheel in my booth at a discount, and I need to just do a little tweaking, a little sprucing it up, I guess, just to make sure it doesn't have any squeaks or anything. So that'll be a video where I kind of go through and troubleshoot the wheel going forward. I need to make some more of my sheep kits, so we'll be talking about that in a future video. I've already shared with you plying the wool for my demo wheels in order to make the yarn for this bag, but I'm also going to go through some of the stitches that you use to make it, because it's a really fun make, and I really think it's worth sharing that with you. I would also like to upgrade my note cards. So I offer note cards that have photos of all of my sheep, and I put those in the booth. And most of the cards are sheep that I don't have in the flock any longer, that they've moved on to other farms. So I need to go out on the pasture and photograph those sheep and upgrade my cards, update them for my current flock. I'm always going to be in the process of carding fiber to make into bats to sell in the booth. These are hand-washed, hand-processed bats, so they're really special. All sorts of different colors, so I'm going to be working on that, and I'll share my process for that. Today, what I want to do is I want to share with you my process for making 1 ounce packets of raw fiber for hand spinners to enjoy. The reason I do this, so I do a fleece auction in the spring where I sell entire fleeces in an auction, and so buyers can get a whole fleece, which is usually 1 to 2 pounds of fiber, raw, unwashed, directly off the sheep to the customer. What I like to do though is for those of you who are contemplating going to a fleece from maybe purchasing roving from a store and you'd like to try a breed specific fleece, I pack up fleeces into 1 ounce packets, and those I offer as individual 1 ounce packets so that you can kind of give it a shot, see if you like it, see if you like the type of fiber that we're producing before you dive in and get a whole fleece, because let's face it, if you've seen any of my auction footage or gone on my website, my fleeces are not inexpensive. So it might be a good idea to try them out first. So what I want to do today is I want to look at the fleeces that I set aside. I set aside 5 fleeces from 5 of the ewes in our flock that I thought nicely represented what we're breeding for in terms of a soft Shetland fleece. And I selected 5 to cover the 5 colors. So I have a gray fleece, which is this one here from Carrie. I have a black fleece from Mimi, a brown fleece from O'Brien, a white fleece from Lucretia, and a fawn fleece from Ty. And they're all special in their own way. So I'm going to go through each one of those with you. And the first one I have out here is from Carrie. With each 1 ounce packet, I offer these little tags, which give you the photo of the ewe, what it is, 1 ounces of raw fiber, her name, so this one is Carrie, the staple length. These are all 3 inches, give or take, so that's where I put that on there. And that's important for you as a hand spinner, because you want to know what your drafting zone is, what tools you're going to use to process, etc. The color, this one is gray. The date of birth, why is the date of birth important? Normally, ewes that are younger are going to have finer fleeces. Ewes that are older tend to get a little coarser. If you've seen any of my videos before, we are actually selecting for ewes that don't get coarser as they age. But it's interesting, especially with the ewes in our flock, because I think O'Brien is probably my oldest ewe that I'm offering. She's a 2016 ewe. So she's 8 years old, and her spinning fineness is 21.3, which is remarkable. That's like a lamb fineness. So part of it is kind of a badge of honor for me to show that I am offering ewes that have fleeces that are really fine, even as full-grown adults. Then I put the weight of the fiber. So this is for you for your records. Down the road, you might forget, what you actually secured from me. So I put the weight, and then I put the price. So this year, the price is $10 an ounce for the raw fleeces, the raw wool. And then I have my contact information at the bottom of the card. So let's just take a look at Carrie's fleece first. I'm going to open this up. And these are skirted already, so I'm not going to have to sort out, the good prime wool from the wool that needs to get put into the bags. Just gorgeous. It's really nice and dense as I'm just handling it right now. I really love the way it feels. So I'm looking at Carrie's fleece. One thing I just found here that escaped me as I was skirting was this is called a tag, and I've described these to you guys before. So the tag is where the fiber is just so matted by manure that you're never going to wash that. There's more manure than wool. So that one I need to just get rid of. So Carrie is a gray cat mugget. Cat mugget means she's darker on the belly and then lightens up as you go to the back. And she's also got a dark stripe up her neck. And you see that reflected right here. So this is some of her neck wool that I held on to because it was under the coat. Just gorgeous. Beautiful color. Really nice. So what I'll do when I divide these up is I will keep that color together. So in fact, let's make a 1 ounce packet right now. So I'm going to make a 1 ounce packet here, and I just kind of, when I'm separating out the locks, I do put a lot of effort to preserve the lock structure. So I'm going to just estimate. Her fleece is nice and dense, so it's actually pretty surprising how small of a patch of fiber will end up being an ounce. But do you see there how I really put a lot of effort to make sure that there wasn't a lot of loose messiness, because when you process this, it's possible you're going to want to flick it. So you need these locks to be in really good shape. All right, so let's see here if I've got an ounce yet. 1.94. So this is actually almost 2 ounces here. So I'm going to split this in half once again. And you can see I grab it from the top. So this is helpful if you ever want to split a fleece with a friend. This is how you want to do it. So this is what they call blue-black. I mean blue-gray. You can see the overshades of blue in this. Just gorgeous. That's a nice little packet right there. All right, so now I'm going to add a little more, and I'm just going to make sure as I add it that it's a nicely formed lock or batch of locks. 105, close enough for me. Now, normally I'll package in plastic Ziploc bags, which is totally against my aesthetic, right? Because they're new, unused bags. So what I've been doing is saving these little blueberry pouches all winter. So I'm kind of just experimenting with the packaging right now as we speak. But I think what I'm going to do is kind of fold the card in. See how this works. And then pack the wool in there like that. And maybe what I'll do is I'll have one card that's intact on the display so you can see who it is. So that's how they're going to be packaged, at least until I run out of blueberry packs. And I think I'll hang them like this. We'll just use this hook up here to show you what I'm thinking when you're looking for these in the booth. So when you're looking for these in the booth, like I said, they're going to be in these little blueberry packs, and I'll have the picture of the ewe like that. So I'll have a few hanging, and then I'll probably have a basket full of them because this is going to make quite a few of those packets. So one thing I will say is I don't offer these on the online shop. I only offer these when I'm at fiber festivals. And I've talked about this before. I really have a strong opinion about selling wool online. It's something where I feel like you really need to see it, feel it, touch it. and especially ours, because I charge a nice premium for it. So I want to make sure you know what you're getting. So I don't typically sell the wool packets like that on my online store. It's usually just at festivals. So Carrie's fleece is going to be kind of fun because I have the dark stuff, but we've also got some beautiful light patches. So this is going to be closer to her breech, where the wool color is going to be a lot lighter. Still beautiful crimp, nice length. And I did select, we're going to take a look at the bottom, I did select fleeces that had a really good shearing quality with minimal second cuts. So there's a little bit of something that you'd probably take off with your flicker. And then also all of the wool that's going in these 1 ounce packets is wool that has been covered by the coat. So that was Carrie. I'm just going to put together one 1 ounce pack. I'll work on this later, hopefully later on today. So there's Carrie, and I have, this is actually the card that was written up on shearing day. This is a sheared fleece. That's important to know. So this one is going to have the clipper marks, but it'll just give you a sense for that. If you're familiar with me at all, many of the fleeces that I offer are rued, and there's a whole video I made about how I rue the fleeces, which is the process of plucking fleeces where they have a break. So let's take a look at Mimi next. And Mimi is a beautiful black ewe. Let me just take her card out here so I can tell you a little bit about my beautiful Mimi. She's the one that prominently features in any of the videos where I'm featuring the animals, because she always comes up to me in the barn before anybody else to say hello and to get affection. And she's named after the main character in the opera La Boheme, who dies of consumption, of course, but it's a beautiful story. Oh my gosh. All right, so Mimi is a spotted, I just need to be a little moment of silence here. This is so nice and dense. Oh my gosh, it's like a big brownie, how it feels. I wish you could feel it. Gosh. So Mimi is a black ewe, but she's spotted. You can see she's got a little spot on her head. For me, she's got the right kind of spotting because it's not in her fleece, so the wool doesn't have what I consider annoying flecks that I end up having to sort out if I want a rich black color. Many people like spotted fleeces. I have a strong opinion in the negative towards that whole thing. But so this is how I like it. So this is a black fleece. Really consistent. There's not, like Carrie's fleece had a little bit of a variation from the breech to the neck in terms of the quality. With Mimi, it's pretty much going to be the same all the way through. I'm just going to pull a little staple. So yeah, so I'm calling it a 3-inch staple. This is probably more like 2, but stretched it gets you to 3. Just a gorgeous, very pretty blue black is what she's given us. Lovely Mimi. Fantastic crimp. She has a micron of 22.7 spinning fineness. So black ewes will typically have a little higher dent or fiber diameter. So that's what that's all about. But the handle is just amazing on this one. So let's just take a look and see what 1 ounce looks like of Mimi's fleece. Here's her card. It shows that it was a 2024 fleece. So this was harvested this spring. And I'm going to use Carrie's fleece as a guide because these feel like they're about the same density. You can see I'm very carefully just grabbing it from the top so that everything stays together nicely. Wow, I am really overestimating what an ounce is of these fleeces. That's because they are really dense. We might find a fleece moving forward that isn't as dense, so it's roughly 50% of it has to go. 1.19, close enough. So that person's going to get a nice bargain. Just really nice. And again, coated fleece, really clean. This is also a sheared fleece. And like I said, I selected specifically for fleeces that had really good shearing quality, so you don't have to be frustrated by a lot of waste as you're processing. There's a little summer bug. We've been dealing with these guys. So that is Mimi. So let me remeasure this. And I will package her. So this takes a surprisingly long amount of time to get these packed up because it's difficult to estimate what 1 ounce is going to be. I'll try doing it this way, see if I like it better. That went a little bit better. As we go, we'll come up with better ways to do things. Yeah, so Mimi's one of my favorite ewes. She's Alice Paul's daughter, and Alice Paul, I believe I featured Alice Paul in my halter training video, which I'll put a link to that here. So that was Mimi. Actually, I don't need to rebag her because I would never mistake this one for anyone else. All right, so the next fleece I want to show you is from our ewe, Lucretia. And Lucretia is white. Very striking ewe. She has, when I talk about trying to increase fleece density or fleece yields, which means maximizing the amount of fiber I get on each ewe in proportion to the amount of fiber that I dispose of. She's a winner because she's got this beautiful long body, and I've talked about Lucretia in other videos. We actually selected Lucretia to do artificial insemination the year that we were being very careful in selecting only the top quality ewes. We love her fleece, we love her look, we love that she's white, she's a white ewe. I love that I can rue her, which I did rue this fleece, and you'll see a real big difference when we look at the back of her fleece. Now, like all the rued fleeces, it's 2 halves because I go down from the back to the belly. So I'm just going to put out one. But the interesting thing about a rued fleece is when I lay this out, it's going to be right around the same size as a sheared one. And that's because with rued fleeces, you remember, I'm grabbing and pulling, so it tends to fluff the fleece out as it snaps back from being tugged off of the body. Oh, this is really nice. Again, nice and dense. Beautiful crimp. Lucretia's got really good numbers. She always has. So she's a 2020. She's 4 years old. Her spinning fineness this year was 22.5. So as a reminder, those of you that aren't micron people, wool that is, or any fiber, that's 28 microns or lower, and when I say micron, that's the diameter of each individual fiber. There's actually equipment that we send these to get tested for that. Wool that's under 28 microns or any fiber, you can wear it against your skin and it's not going to prickle you. So it's soft enough that you can just wear it as if it were silk or cashmere or something like that. Cashmere is like 18 to 20 microns, just as a reference. So this is the half of Lucretia's fleece that was rued. She's white, and like I think I've said this before, white fleeces tend to show dirt. So it's clean in terms of not having any vegetative material, which is hay, bits of chaff, bits of poop that get lodged in the fiber and make it difficult to clean. But the dirt side of it, dirt washes out. You can easily wash it out and rinse it out. The white shows it a lot more. You can see on here where her tips are a little bit more dirty than the balance of the fiber. When you scour this, that will come right clean to white. And because it's a coated fleece, it's not going to have any kind of sun discoloration or anything. It should be the same color all the way through. All right, so it's going to be interesting to show you. I'm going to grab an ounce of this, and it's going to be a lot larger mass-wise because of the fact that I rued it. If you want to see me go through all of my soft Shetland fleeces from this year that I sold in the auction, I made a playlist of me skirting every single one of them. It was a ton of work. But I feel like as an archive document, that playlist for me is going to be really helpful long term. Oh my gosh. As I'm pulling these locks apart, just look at that, how gorgeous. Beautiful crimp. It's a lot more open than the sheared ones because when I pull it, it sort of snaps it open. So you can really see that beautiful, delicate crimp. Man, it's hard for me to let some of these go. I'm not kidding. Okay, so this might be an ounce. It might actually be even less than an ounce. Oh no, 1.5. All right, so let's take a little more off of this. Normally when I'm doing this and I do one ewe and I go through and get them all done, I kind of, by the third time, I'm pretty good at guessing how much an ounce is. So I'm going to take off. This takes a little bit of time. I'm going to dedicate probably about 3 hours to this project. Hopefully get everybody's split up. 1.18, good enough for me. I'd rather go too much than too little. I hate to feel like I'm shortchanging you on your fiber. All right, so I'm going to put that in here. I'm going to put it tip side up. Many times farmers are going to market their fleeces, and I see this at shows too, where they show the bottom part in the bags and they tuck all the dirty stuff on the inside to make it look prettier. You're very well within your rights to ask that farmer to remove the fleece from the bag so you can see the whole thing, because this is really misleading. This isn't what the wool looks like. Does that make sense? I just feel like it's a little misleading. But this is the back side of a rude fleece, absolutely perfect. No shear marks. It's the staple as God intended it. There's no breaks in the fleece or anything. So rude fleeces are pretty spectacular in my opinion. A little biased. So there's Lucretia. And Lucretia is named after Lucretia Mott, who in 2020 we celebrated our 100-year anniversary of women having the vote, the 19th Amendment. So I named all my sheep after activists that were key in getting that amendment passed. So Lucretia is named after Lucretia Mott. That was a fun year. I learned a lot about that whole movement doing the sheep naming. Okay, so I'm going to put this one back up there. Same thing as Mimi's, not likely to mix it up. I got 2 more to go that I want to show you. This is from our ewe O'Brien. She's older. She's named after a character from a show that was very popular on PBS back when we were lambing, called Downton Abbey. And there were so many women characters in that show, so it was rich for me because I always have a lot of females. So we had a lot of really fun names, and O'Brien was one of them. So the funny story about O'Brien, just hilarious, is when I've been harvesting her fleece for a lot of years, right? Because she is 8. And I sheared everybody in the beginning like that when her lamb year, and her fleece I thought was very, very short, and she always had this excess fiber on her body after shearing day that would fall off later on. So as I learned more about the breed, I learned that, well, what was happening was she hadn't hit the rise, she hadn't hit the break in her fleece on shearing day, so she still had more wool to give us for that year, but because we sheared it, we got shortchanged. This year I rued her, and last year I rued her. So this year was the first year that I got to harvest her fleece, the whole staple, the way it's supposed to be. And it turns out that it's an absolutely spectacular staple length. Not short, just correct to the standard and for what we're breeding for. Crazy soft, beautiful color. She's not a catmugget, so it's all moret, although she does have some shading. So if you did want to make like a gradient or an ombre from her wool, you could. But these samples are going to come from her in a rude form. I'm actually feeling her breech wool is a little bit coarser than her neck wool. So earlier in our breeding, this was something we were working on fixing. So like Mimi's fleece, the black one, it's all the same. But this I can feel ever so slight difference, which is not to say her breech wool isn't lovely. It's going to be really fun to spin, probably a little bit longer, staple length. All right, let's get what I would think an ounce of O'Brien's wool would be. So brown in the Shetland vernacular, when they call it brown over there, they say morit or morit. We say M-O-O-R-I-T, which is Shetland for brown. And I met a lady from the Shetland Islands at my booth one year, and she confirmed it and said it correctly, so that's how I know how to say it. I do like a little, like a tugging motion, I guess, and that's just to prevent it from getting really frayed. And you don't want to have like stray locks that you really can't do anything with. Having said that, if this were my fleece, I think I would wash it and then just card the whole thing and not even attempt to get the tips off, because the tips are nice and clean and pristine, because I rued a ewe that was rude, so it's just a perfect staple. So yeah, so I would just wash this. This stuff is gonna fluff right up, and I would just, of course, for 1 ounce, is it worth putting on a drum carder? But I'm saying if I were washing this fleece, that's what I would do. I always tell people how I would process the fleeces to help with their, because sometimes they don't have the tools, right? So I like to tell you how I would do it. So I'm gonna put the card in first this time. Yeah, because that way then you can see the photo through the clear spot, because the blueberry label sort of blocks the picture. Here's my 1 ounce of O'Brien. These little packets have holes in them, little air holes in them, so they're not airtight, but for the purpose of the festival, I think it's fine. All right, O'Brien, so that one's done. And then the last one I want to show you is from our ewe tie. I'm smirking because Rich calls her Mogwai. When she was little, she had these markings, and he thought she looked like, I don't know what Mogwai is from, Gremlins, I think, or something, or I don't know, one of those shows that we watched when we were kids. She is spotted in her face, but not on her body, so that makes her acceptable to me. I love that. She's a 2020 ewe as well, so she's named after the first Chinese American woman to, I want to say vote, but maybe hold a public office. Anyways, it was somebody really significant. Actually, she was young when the amendment passed, so she benefited from that 19th Amendment, but anyways, I digress. Like I said, I really enjoyed that year researching all these characters and stuff. So tie is a cat mugget, and the fleece was sheared. So you're going to see just a different appearance. Although her fleece is not, I'm going to just say it, it's not as dense as some of the other ones that I was looking at earlier, but it is pretty big. This take me a little time here to get this open. Yeah, as I'm feeling it, it's not as dense. So what that means is a 1 ounce packet may look a little bit bigger. Her fleece goes from really creamy white to a light taupe, like a coffee cappuccino type color. So she doesn't have a ton of dark on her. So she's very typical fawn. Like this is what fawn looks like when you look at a Shetland fleece. So you can see, I mean, I'm having a hard time fitting it all on the table because it's just not as dense and compact as as like Mimi's or Carrie's. Carrie's was nice and dense. Carrie's actually moving on to a new farm in a week or so, which is going to break my heart. But anyway, so this is Ty. Just take a look at her data. So she is a 2020 ewe. She's a fawn. Spinning fineness of 21.6. The one thing about her fleece that I think is really special, I just feel like her lock structure is really pretty. So it's a little bit on the tippy side, but it's easy enough to grab 8 to 12 tips when you're doing flicking, which I would do because this is a sheared fleece. Normally the only fleeces I run directly on the drum carder are the ones that are rude. It's kind of hard to see this because it's white on white, but just a beautiful lock. Really nice fineness on our little tie. TYE, and I'm not really sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. Something I could easily research on Google, but I just haven't prioritized that activity. Okay, we're going to tug an ounce off of here. You know, these lighter fawn fleeces also show the dirt. They make it look like it's dirty. That's all stuff that will wash right off. 1.6. Man, I'm being way generous with my segmenting here. 1.29, a little bit more. So I have had people that, there's another nice application for these 1 ounce packets is if you want different colors, you know, if you want to have like 2 ounces of each color to make something, 1.05. So I've had people buy many packets of the 1 ounce. And I'm just going to talk about price, although sometimes people are uncomfortable about it. I like to be really transparent about the pricing. So these 1 ounce packets are roughly $10, not roughly, they're $10 an ounce. The fleeces, the full raw fleece, right now the prices are right around, and this is 2024, right around $5 to $6 an ounce. So you're paying an additional $4 for this work that I'm doing, and for, you know, it's pretty much perfect, right? There's not going to be anything wrong with these because I'm looking at them and being so particular. So it is a little bit more pricey to buy large volumes of these compared with buying a fleece. Another idea, if you wanted to get larger volumes, is if you're in a guild or in a group, you know, purchase a fleece and split it in 4 ways with friends. You know, that's something that I know people have done in the past that want to get this, but they don't want 4 different color fleeces. So that's another idea, another option for you. All right, so we're going to pack up tie, and that's going to be kind of a wrap. So all I have to do now is I need to go print more of these. I just did one for this video, but I'll have to go down and print a stack of these, so that'll take me a little time. Come up here, get them measured, and then pack them up and get them ready for me to bring to the Rhinebeck Fiber Festival. I hope if you can get there, please stop by and see me. I'm building C booth 8 it's October, the 3rd weekend in October. Consistently, I forget the date, but I'll put it here in the video. And if you aren't able to get to the event, I'm going to be making a bunch of videos about going to Rhinebeck. I have a lovely video I made last year, almost like a documentary of some of the different events at Rhinebeck from last year. And this year, Rich has the assignment. He's going to go around with the GoPro and get good blocks of different things. So one of the things we want to get a video is the Shetland breed talk. So we're gonna get a good block of that to share with you guys. If there's something you want to see and you can't get there, let me know in the comments and we'll assign Rich that to go and get a video of whatever it is. If it's somebody's booth or a particular barn or something that you want to see that's legal. I think some of the book signings, I don't think I can video like when the book authors talk about their books because they charge for those. But yeah, let me know if there's something that you want to see and we'll see what we can do. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you stopping by and I hope you can come back soon.